What's up, YouTube? It's time for a review of the new Black Dahlia Murder record, Nightbringers, out this past Friday, October 6th. If there's one thing that you can count on in the past decade and a half of music, it's that every odd-numbered year, the Black Dahlia Murder will drop a new record. Its title will be one word. That word will be 3 syllables. And for their fans, well, all will be right with the world again. Nightbringers is the beloved death metal band's 8th record now, and before even coming out, it had already snatched the title for most successful pre-order in the history of Metal Blade Records, which, in this era of digital music consumption, that's fucking mind-blowing. But then again, that's what happens when, as a band, year after year, time and time again, you deliver for your fans with the kind of almost robotic consistency that Black Dahlia have. Of course, according to Eddie Hermida from Suicide Silence, this means that Black Dahlia, along with Cannibal Corpse and a slew of other bands, are complete sellouts. You know, for being consistent. And that wasn't a hypocritical statement at all for him to make, because it's not like Suicide Silence purposely tried to recreate one of the most commercially viable subgenres that metal has ever seen with their last record, but, you know, I digress. So anyway, as October 6th approached, everything seemed to be lining up for another triumphant biennial, that's a word I learned recently, biennial return of Black Dahlia Murder. Teaser title track seemed to be getting people pretty psyched. What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, I don't know what happened with this record, but Black Dahlia, I don't know, maybe there was an A&R guy in their ear telling them to try to shoot for more radio play or expand their audience a bit. Or maybe they were just looking to experiment with a different sound, but what the fuck happened with this record? What went wrong here? This is like a totally different band. I'm just kidding, of course. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. This is another great Black Dahlia record. They continue to deliver a style of death metal, melodic death metal that feels super familiar, but just it comes to you so neatly packaged in just this no-nonsense half hour of explosive energy and just riffs on riffs on riffs and just enough variation in the songs and in the track list where you can still pick out your favorite songs and your favorite moments, and everything just doesn't feel like it's sitting in a big tub of indistinguishable death metal stew. I'll say right away, there's a standout track on here called As Good as Dead that will probably go down as one of my favorite Black Dahlia songs ever. Because the chorus groove in this song was so unexpected, and people are gonna kill me for even saying this, but the guitars in this chorus groove, they almost sound reminiscent of Dokken. At least in the way that George Lynch would really make a power chord snarl and give it that vibrato and that attitude. And I know it's kind of a crazy comparison, but it's that character that the riff has that makes this song as addicting as it's been, and that chorus groove has just been stuck in my head consistently since the record's been out. As with the chorus riff on the title track, which is not only hooky as hell, but it's also trademark Black Dahlia in the sense that the harmony between the two guitars, it actually makes very little sense musically. And I've always admired how guitarist Brian Eschbach and whoever is his lead player at the time have always been able to concoct these sort of outside-the-box guitar harmonies rather than just, stacking your intervals of thirds like every other metal band does. Then if you're looking for music that's a little less catchy and a lot more relentless and just uncompromising, the second track on this record, Of God and Serpent, of Spectre and Snake, oh my god, the first 2 minutes of this track are just non-stop. It sounds so tiring to play, especially for drummer Alan Cassidy, who, of course, is a fucking monster all over this record. That song, that first 2 minutes, especially before the breakdown, are just an impressive display of stamina. Or at least will be when they play it live, because obviously in the studio you can chop shit together, but I'm looking forward to seeing fucking Alan Cassidy just that for fucking 2 minutes. The closing track, The Lonely Deceased, that's another favorite of mine with its slightly more emotional, more natural minor feel. And of course that obvious glaring homage to In Flames where that acoustic part just pops up out of nowhere in the middle of the song. I also mentioned Widowmaker, the opening song, as a favorite. The tremolo pick chorus to that song, those guitar harmonies are so beautifully ugly. I love it. But other than just naming some favorite songs and some favorite moments here and there, I don't really feel a need to elaborate extensively on what this record sounds like, because if you're familiar with Black Dahlia, you know what you're in for. You know you're gonna get a barrage of just rattling blast beats. You're gonna get a guitar riffing style that mixes some old school death metal tremolo picking stuff with some at the gate style pivot riffing. You're gonna get extended shred-tastic guitar solos. You're of course gonna get vocalist Trevor Sternad's impressive mix of just bellowing lows and just savage high screams. Which I gotta say, year after year, it becomes more and more apparent to me, just listening to all these up-and-coming extreme metal bands, just how influential Trevor's vocal style has been on the next generation. Like, it feels to me sometimes like every vocalist is trying to replicate those flawless, almost possessed high screams that he's got. I definitely got to single out one vocal moment in particular that's my favorite on the record. It occurs on the song Catacomb Hecatomb, or Hecatomb, I don't know. I looked it up on that Emma Says shit, and it said Hecatomb, so suck my dick. Anyway, halfway through the song, everything just stops for a minute, and Trevor just roars the lyric. It's screaming as we're both eaten alive. And it's just so awesome and so brutal, and it segues seamlessly into this double bass breakdown. Hopefully that'll be worked into the live set, because that could be a really cool crowd participation moment for fans that know the lyrics to the new shit. And the other individual that I have some specific praise for on here is their new lead guitarist, Brandon Ellis, who replaced Ryan Knight. Black Dahlia has poached yet another artist guitarist, and I'm just beyond impressed. He fucking rips on here. His solo on Widowmaker is outstanding. There's also some real smooth, just pristinely precise shred licks on the song Kings of the Night World. Pristinely precise. I don't know. It made sense to me, all right? There's also a really sick guitar solo on the title track with some really fun whammy bar stuff, and what's probably my favorite lick on the whole album, it happens at 2 minutes and 27 seconds in to the title track. I just really enjoy how gracefully he slides out on the one note and then just opts for a more modest, like, triplet dissension, where I feel like the way he had set the solo up, and this, I guess this talk is more just for guitar players, I feel like the way he had set the solo up, most players would have just shredded out of that bar, but I like how he went for something a little more modest, because then he was able to come in on the next downbeat with something that was a little more ripping, a little more forceful. I don't know, I really enjoy how these solos are constructed. I think he is a great replacement for Ryan Knight. I guess the one guitar solo that I'm not too crazy about is the one on The Lonely Deceased, where Ellis goes for a bit more of a motify, melodic beginning to his solo before he starts to shred. But the problem is, for me, the melodies in this section don't really stick. They sound like he kind of thought of them just on the spot right before he started to record, as opposed to really sitting down and attempting to craft something unique and something different and something that feels like a composition within a composition. But then again, that's all extreme metal guitarists, and that's something that 99% of fans just don't give a shit about. So. And there is a slight valley in the track list with the song Jars, which for me was not particularly memorable. I actually think the gang vocals in this song came off a bit cheesy. And then the following song, Kings of the Night World, despite having some sick, sort of Carcass influence vocals from Trevor, it was similarly take it or leave it. Two songs that I don't really feel an urge to come back to. But hey, what we got here is another excellent installment in the Black Dahlia catalog. At the same time though, can we stop with the fucking obnoxious dick riding that's going on? Like the dude from Metal Injection giving this record a 10 out of 10. What is this, Rain in Blood? Does that mean that every Black Dahlia record is a fucking 10? Because I enjoyed the shit out of this record, but I've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed Ever Black or Abysmal or Nocturnal or Miasma. Like, what about this record stands just head and shoulders over everything else that everybody else has ever done? It's not like they're reinventing the wheel here or creating a huge landmark for the genre, and nor is it their responsibility to do that. They did what they always do. They did what their fans expect, and it worked, like it always does. And that's awesome. But to sit here and act like this record is just way better than every other Black Dahlia record that's ever existed, it's silly. And I think it's more than anything, it's just people getting caught up in the excitement of one of your personal favorite bands dropping a new record. Which, hey, I'm sorry for that little dose of negativity in a review that's clearly very positive. I love this record, but it's something that's been bothering me the last few days, and I just felt like I had to address it. And of course, it's nothing against the band, because contrary to what Eddie Hermida might think, you can't fault a band for continuing to excel within the niche that they've so nicely crafted for themselves, as long as things don't start to sound stale, you know? And I really don't think they do on here. Would I be really interested to hear Black Dahlia just attempt a totally different style? Fuck yeah, I would, but this definitely works too. I mean, this will probably at the end of the year end up in my top 10 extreme metal albums of the year. It's a fucking awesome record. So if you're into the Black Dahlia Murder, or you've enjoyed any Black Dahlia Murder music in the past, you'll obviously like this. If you're into any kind of melodic death metal, you'll probably like this too. And there's really not much else to say about this record other than that. Nightbringers gets an 8 out of 10 from me. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.